Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this story. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Hey, all you minties! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of the Batman, the Black Mirror Deluxe Edition from DC Comics. We are looking at the latest printing of this story. So, join me. And welcome back, everybody. So what we have here is the latest printing of Batman, the Black Mirror. And what I mean by latest printing is this had originally been printed in a deluxe edition, and I don't have it with me anymore because I forgot I gave it away during one of our giveaways in 2013. So we do have a new cover for it. We have a standard edition cover on the left-hand side, and the new cover here on the right-hand side, that is your direct market only cover. That cover is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com, comicsbugle.com, dyandbreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, or your local comic book store. But you can get the standard edition cover everywhere else. Now, that standard edition cover is the same cover that they've used before. It's just has a red tint on it. So that's about the only difference. But everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so let's shift the focus back to this. Scott Snyder, Jock, Francesco, Francavilla, the DC logo there. Batman, the Black Mirror, the Deluxe Edition. Batman, the Black Mirror, the Deluxe Edition, the bat symbol. Snyder, Jock, Francavilla, the DC logo. And then the back of the book, the #1 New York Times best-selling story by Scott Snyder. ISBN, retail price being $49.99, and a little bit about the book here, and what's collected. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the stuff in here is not found in the Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo omnibus. As a matter of fact, this predates it, and if you've watched my reading orders of Batman, let's look at the flaps here, praise for the book, and then the bio on the creators. If you've seen my reading orders, you know this takes place before Flashpoint, when the universe is reset. So that's where this takes place. I do have to mention this particular era, but I'll let you know before I even talk about that. We're going to talk about the contents first of the book. So we do have this image here from Jock and one from Francavilla in the back of Batman, and one of the Joker right there. I've always loved that image. This has been available in trades as well, and in an absolute edition. So we are going to crack this book open, talk about the stories found in here, and check out the build of the book. Alright, let's go ahead and crack this book open. Love the end sheets here of the city of Gotham, which plays a big part in this book. Batman, the Black Mirror Deluxe Edition, with all these images of some of the key players. And then I love the way that the credits are done. You have Scott Snyder, Jock, Francesco Francavilla, Jared Fletcher, and Sal Cipriano doing the lettering, and the original covers right here for the collection, and the variant cover for the collection, Batman created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, some of our villains and some of our heroes, and then the people behind the scenes, and when this book was originally printed. Now, this is a brand new introduction, one that it's never been printed before in the Absolute Edition or the previous Deluxe Edition. This came out in February of 2024, when Scott Snyder, the series writer, wrote this introduction talking about how he got lucky when he got the chance to write Batman, and this is his first work, and every other Batman story that he's written since then has pretty much used this as the prototype. So, collected in here is Detective Comics 871 to 881. And the book has 320 pages and retails for $49.99. Now, I have to talk about this particular era of Batman to kind of give you an introduction to the story. So if you don't like any kind of spoilers, I will be talking about the things that happened previously and the pitch of the stories in here that kind of set up this run. So just in case, again, spoilers for what happened previously during this time in Batman. Okay, let's go ahead. Where every brave soul that just doesn't care. This is during the time when, yes, it is Batman, but it is not Bruce Wayne Batman. It is Dick Grayson. This is after the events of Final Crisis, when Batman got blown away by Darkseid, but not really, because he was hanging out in a cave and traveling through time. And then eventually Bruce Wayne comes back, and he's like, hey, Dick, you've been doing a really good job being Batman. Why don't you keep being Batman? I'm going to build a world of Batman and call it Batman Incorporated. And that's pretty much the premise of this. Dick Grayson is Batman during this time. Bruce Wayne is back, but he is building the Batman Incorporated, traveling around the world. Dick Grayson is still here in Gotham City. So we kick it off with this story about this kid that's being bullied, and this bully just takes him to the swimming pool and tries to drown him, and the kid morphs into what looks like a spawn of Killer Croc and bites off the bully's hand. So, of course, the police will get involved. But then we get this introduction here of our buddy, Dick Grayson, being Batman. He's hanging out with Alfred right there. He's seeing some vultures outside, and he's like, somebody needs to get rid of those. That can't be a good omen. And he's investigating with Commissioner Gordon in this lab that Bruce Wayne has given to the GCPD, but the Gotham Central Police Department refuses to use it just because they've got that much pride. So just Commissioner Gordon comes in and he's like, hey, I'll come and use it. Thank you so much, Dick. So I do love the fact that, they state that Bruce Wayne is funding Batman, because remember that all happened during the whole build of Incorporated. Bruce Wayne came out and he stated that, hey, I have something to tell everybody. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's going to tell us he's Batman. Kind of like Iron Man, but no. He just says, I am funding Batman. So everybody knows that he's funding Batman, and then he's built this for the city. So they do test the serum that this kid had, and how he was able to turn into the Killer Croc, and it does match the Killer Croc serum. So that's where it gets interesting. So how did this kid get a hold of it, knowing that his parents are socialites and they're out all the time? So Dick Grayson dresses as Batman and goes and pays a visit to the butler. The butler knows something, but he gets shot. What's going on? This is artwork by Jock, by the way. And then the mother ends up killing herself because she doesn't want to say who is behind everything. And one thing that Dick Grayson notes is that she has a little tag like the Mad Hatter would put on people's hats to take over them. Jervis, when he was running around as the Mad Hatter, him and again Commissioner Gordon talk. And I do love this scene right here where Commissioner Gordon turns off the bat signal and he's like, I just can't get used to you still being there. So it's a different Batman. That is the message that you get through here. So he goes and finds the people that were pretty much behind selling these items, the serum and the little tag on the streets, and it's two cops that were involved with each other, and one name comes out, and that is somebody known as the dealer. So now Batman is having to look for somebody known as the dealer. He finds the kid's father here, and the kid's father ends up dying. So him and Oracle have a plan. They're going to go and figure out who this dealer is. I love that Oracle is a big part of this. And he wants to go undercover. He wants to pretend to be this dead guy right here that crashed his car but was invited to this party. And what this party turns out to be, I love this too, by the way. He sees Bullock instead of Commissioner Gordon because Commissioner Gordon's doing his own thing. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. He's busy. This party turns out to be an invitation to an underworld auction where they're selling things that rich people just get off on, like items of memorabilia from villains like Mr. Freeze's gun, or like I mentioned, the serum, or maybe the tag. So as soon as Dick Grayson, dressed up as Mr. Rhodes, comes in here undercover, he gets a box. Inside the box is a gas mask that he has to put on, and then the paddle, the bidding paddle. It's not that kind of party when I mentioned paddle. Just wanted to make sure everybody's aware. It's a bidding paddle. So the auction goes up. The dealer comes out, and he's like, we got something special tonight. I've got the crowbar. That's right. A crowbar that killed one of the Robins, because of course they don't know which Robin. And the auction is up and people start bidding on it. And this is the kind of underground, behind the scenes, secret society that Gotham has had. Again, this predates things like the Court of Owls. So it kind of sets up this whole idea that maybe Gotham has had this secret society there for a while. Now, whether that is actually the crowbar that the Joker used on our poor Jason Todd, who knows? Now, one thing that happens, though, is that this old man, this dealer, actually knows that Mr. Rhodes had died. So whoever is behind the mask has to be Batman. So he sends the citizens to go after Batman, and he blacks out. And you can find out how he gets out of that. But I mean, it is Dick Grayson. He gets out of it. There's a lot of twists and turns with that story. Now, in the backup issues, because that's how these were originally published in single issue, there were backup stories here by Francavilla. Again, Scott Snyder telling the story. It is Commissioner Gordon. Bullock ends up calling Gordon in the middle of the night from the aviary, and he says, somebody let the birds out, and Gordon's like, why do you want me to come there? And he's like, you need to see this film footage. I need you here, Commissioner Gordon. So Gordon goes there, and what is found in the footage? This guy right here, Jim. That's right, Jim. Now, a couple of important things that, again, just minor spoilers. Jim Gordon had a son. His name is also Jim. We haven't seen him in a long time. As a matter of fact, I think the last time we saw him, besides a flashback, was in Batman Year One by Frank Miller. You know, he was the boy that Batman saved when he was being thrown off the bridge. So Jim Gordon had a son, and then he disappeared. So what Scott Snyder does is bring back the character in a skeleton case. And that's when things get interesting. So Barbara knows that Jim Gordon is back, and, you know, she reminds her father. She has dinner with him. Another thing to note is probably something you noticed is that Barbara is going by Oracle during this time. She's in a wheelchair. This is before, again, the Flashpoint and the reboot of the DC Universe where she's Batgirl again. But, you know, she reminds Jim that he's a psychopath, that there was a reason why he went away. And she mentions something about her friend and maybe how he had something to do with her disappearance. So Jim actually, after she leaves the diner, sits down next to his dad and starts talking to him. And he starts telling him, like, look, I know I'm a psychopath, but I've been on medication. I'm not here to make you upset or Barbara upset. I'm actually here to make amends for my past. And he's a very creepy and interesting character. As you learn through here in a series of flashbacks, and a little bit of retcon, because Jim Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, states that Jim and Barbara and Dick Grayson knew each other when they were kids. Again, you know, when telling stories like this, you kind of have to take it tongue-in-cheek. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. So a little bit of a retcon. But anyway, he sits down, and he's this type of character like, son, what's on your shirt? And he's like, oh, it's blood. I killed a waitress while I was waiting for Barbara to get done talking to you. And I stuffed her in the toilet in the men's room. And then he's like, just kidding, Dad. It's ketchup. I'm sorry. I just don't know how to make jokes. It's that kind of creepy character that Scott Snyder reintroduces here. This is another one of the retcons because the character just kind of disappeared. So I guess technically this could have been a big part of his history, that he is a psychopath. Anyway, he tells his father that he is on medication now, and he wants to make amends. He wants to start working for Leslie, Dr. Leslie. And Leslie Tompkins right now is running, you know, a bunch of shelters, but he feels like he can help her dealing with psychopaths, and he's just wondering if his dad can put in a good word for him with her and the Waynes, because he knows the Waynes fund a lot of Leslie Tompkins' projects. So his dad's like, I don't know. And then he's like, okay, well, like I said, I'm just here to make amends, and I'm sorry. I'm getting help. I'm taking this new medication, and I'm not crazy anymore. And his dad doesn't know what to believe. Now, his dad notices that the water is running from the restroom. So he just heard his son confess that he killed the waitress and stuffed her head in the toilet. So he runs in the bathroom, and it's just the sink is running. And it's that kind of story that you're going to get through here. Is he really crazy? Did he really have something to do with the disappearance of Barbara's friend? Now, these backup stories are done by Francavilla, while the main stories featuring Batman Dick Grayson are done by Jock. Now, these stories have nothing to do with each other at the beginning, but then they intertwine, and then you get answers, and then you're like, oh, I gotta figure it out. But you don't, because then Scott Snyder goes right instead of going straight or left, or goes in reverse. And I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, love this story. Because you learn to, you put your trust into a character and you're like, okay, I got to figure it out. Is James really okay, Jim Gordon, his son? Or is he really a psychopath and really that good at lying? Should I trust him? No, maybe, I don't know, what's happening? There's a lot of that in here. And I promise the two stories intertwine. The story about the dealer selling all this memorabilia, this underground Gotham, just society that exists under the very nose of Batman, and the return of Jim Gordon to Gotham Central. And there's another little thing that I'll say, and that's the last thing. Jim Gordon, in the past, there's a little bit of a flashback. He's investigating, I forgot, Red Robin appears in here. There's a couple of other appearances too. He's investigating this killer known as the Peter Pan Killer. There were 8 kids that were abducted from their homes, and in 8 months' time, they would keep finding their bodies. So that's something that comes into play later on too. And that's all I will say about the story. That's what the artwork looks like. I love the tones that Francavilla uses. Very noirish. He only uses blues and yellows and oranges. Not the fruit, but, the color orange. While Jock has these, thick black lines. Shows you the grittiness of the city and the characters. Love it. It is definitely one of my favorite Batman stories. It's probably my favorite Scott Snyder story. I know a lot of people really enjoyed his Court of Owls, and I get it. That is a great story, but for me, it was always Black Mirror. And I was really saddened to find out that this is the extras, by the way, that this wasn't included in the omnibus, but completely makes sense because that's the New 52 era. That's Bruce Wayne back as Batman. This is Dick Grayson's last hurrah as Batman, and it's so good because it is so true to the title. This is completely a detective story. Now, if these are the extras, you have the thumbnail sketches to the final pages, and some original artwork, and some covers, and some of the script back here, and your end sheets. Now, as far as the binding, 320 pages. It is glued binding. That's what the spine looks like there. And the paper stock they are using is very similar to the paper stock they've used for the last couple of deluxe editions from Batman. So it's this satin paper. It's not glossy. It's not, I guess it's it's not even semi-gloss. I don't think satin is a good way to describe it. But it's also not matte paper. Now, as far as the way the book lays over, you do get some gutter loss. For example, here, when Dick Grayson is flying around and can't see his eye even when you're holding it down, so you do get gutter loss like that. And there's a little bit of bleed through happening whenever there's white paper or no colors at all, or there's light colors. So it's just very minimal, but I did want to make people aware of that. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this deluxe edition, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking it up, and if you are picking it up and you had the option, which cover you decided to get. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Would you like to have had this included in a Scott Snyder omnibus? Maybe like a Batman stories by Scott Snyder. You can include his All-Star stories in there. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you think of the story if you have read it. That's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.